Hello, everyone, and welcome back. Interpreting change over time is one of the most common tasks in museums and heritage, and I think especially in exhibition interpretation. Sometimes a change can be technological, it can be how people traveled, how they worked, how they communicated, how they lived their lives. But often the most difficult changes to interpret are changes in attitudes, in beliefs, in rights, and in social expectations or social norms. I think often because even in the time we have them, we can't always explain why we do certain things the way we do. It's just become a sort of social expectation in our communities or our societies or our countries or parts of the world. Ideas that once seemed normal can now seem completely shocking. Slavery was once defended as both a economical and also a social system. Women were denied political and legal rights. Religious beliefs shaped everything from law, medicine, education, and everyday behavior even. Attitudes towards things like poverty, disability, childhood, punishment, social class have changed dramatically over the years. So interpreting change doesn't only mean helping visitors understand what has changed, it also means helping visitors understand how people experienced the world before that change happened. And I've identified 3 questions I think can help visitors understand change and our approaches to change over the years. I think especially they apply to exhibition interpretation, but I find them useful to just have a think about overall when we are approaching change within interpretation. As always, remember to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and add your comments below. So the first question I want to dive into is, what actually changed? A timeline, for example, can show that one event followed another, but it does not necessarily explain the real transformation. Was the change in law, in technology, in political power, religious beliefs, social behavior, or in what people considered normal or acceptable or possible at a given time? So, for example, an exhibition about, let's say, women's rights, for example, might include important dates such as change to voting rights or property rights, education, or employment. But the deeper interpretive question is what those changes meant in everyday life. What could women do afterwards that they could not do before? What new choices became possible? What remained restricted? The same applies to the history of slavery. Abolition dates matter, but abolition was not simply a moment when one system ended and equality began. Interpretation needs to show what changed legally, economically, and socially, and how those changes affected real lives. So rather than asking only what happened next, ask what became possible, normal, acceptable, or unacceptable that had not been so before. The second question, as you might have guessed, is what did not change? Historical change is rarely complete, immediate, or experienced equally. A law may change before attitudes do. A new technology may exist but remain unavailable to most people. A political reform may benefit one group while leaving another excluded. For example, women may gain formal rights while still facing strong social expectations about work, marriage, motherhood, or public life. Slavery may be legally abolished while racial inequality, forced labor, economic exploitation, and inherited disadvantage continue. A new religious or political idea may spread while older beliefs and customs remain part of everyday life for generations. This matters because exhibitions can easily present history as a neat journey from ignorance to progress. But people do not all cross from one period into another at the same time. Old and new practices often exist together. So ask, who experienced this change first? Who resisted it? And who did not experience it at all? The final question is, how did the past make sense to people at the time? When we look back, it can be difficult to understand why people accepted systems, beliefs, or practices that now seem clearly unjust or irrational. Why was slavery defended? Why were women thought unfit for political participation? Why were public punishment, child labor, or severe social hierarchies accepted? Why did people trust medical treatments that now seem dangerous? Interpretation should help visitors understand the assumptions, institutions, interests, fears, and beliefs that made these things appear normal or necessary to some people. But understanding a historical mentality is not the same as endorsing it. Context should not become an excuse. The aim is not to remove responsibility or soften harm. It is to help visitors understand how power, how culture, religion, economics, and social expectations shaped people's choices and beliefs. And this also means showing disagreement. Not everyone accepted slavery. Not every woman accepted her prescribed social role. Not everyone shared the dominant religious or political beliefs. The past contains resistance, debate, uncertainty, and alternatives. And good interpretation should make those visible too. So when we interpret change over time, I think these three questions are very central, because interpreting change is not simply a matter of showing a before and after. It means explaining what shifted specifically, what endured, and why the world once made sense in a very different way from today. The past was not simply, the present with older clothes or older technologies, but people lived within different assumptions, they lived within different possibilities, and also different limits. Good interpretation helps visitors enter that world without losing sight of its consequences, I believe. Do you have any good examples of how change can be presented and discussed, interpreted in museums and heritage sites? It would be really, really lovely to see. Thanks so much for watching.